My husband placed the divorce papers on the table beside my birthday cake and said that the house, the car, and the business all belonged to him. I signed them, but when his lawyer reached the final page and asked one question, my husband's confidence shattered for the first time. My husband placed the divorce papers on the table beside my birthday cake. The knife was still buried in the frosting. The candles had burned halfway down, and he said just as calmly that the house, the car, and the business all belonged to him, as if 20 years of marriage were nothing more than a closed line on an accounting sheet. I looked at him, then at the papers, then at the blue icing flowers surrounding my name, and picked up the pen. I did not scream or cry. Some answers arrive so late that no questions remain. Daniel had always mistaken silence for agreement. Perhaps that was because for years, I had been the unseen foundation of our home, the part no one noticed but without which everything would have leaned crooked. At PTA meetings I played the perfect mother. At Thanksgiving dinner I carved the turkey while pretending not to notice how often he turned his phone face down. During our Sunday trips to Costco we looked like a complete family. From the outside everything appeared fine. Inside I was only maintaining a habit. The first Real crack appeared 3 years earlier on a Wednesday evening, when I noticed a small gold earring in the back seat of his car, and it was not mine. I did not pick it up. I carried the groceries into the kitchen, salted the pasta water, and listened while he explained that a quarterly review at the office had run late. He was lying, but that night I understood something important. Catching a lie and freeing yourself from it are two different things. I did not rush. My revenge was not anger, it was patience. I reviewed bank statements, read business filings, and asked our accountant the kind of questions a co-owner asks, not a wife. Then I pulled out the old documents Daniel had signed years before, when we had restructured our taxes to protect the house and the company. He knew the assets had been transferred into my family trust. What he had forgotten was that the trust owned 71% of the company, that I was its sole trustee, and that the house belonged to it as well. The car was not ours either. It was leased by the company. Daniel called it his because he drove it, just as he called the business his because everyone at the office addressed him as CEO. There is a difference between a title and ownership. People who trust their own voices more than written documents often forget that. I had hidden nothing. Every document was legal, every signature was his, and every annual report had been sent to both of us. He simply never read them. During the previous 2 years I had increased my 401k contributions, opened a separate personal account, secured the children's college funds, and arranged for his operational authority to be restricted in the board minutes. He did not object because he was too busy with conferences in Denver, client dinners in Chicago, and weekends when his phone was always turned off. His mistake was bigger than the affair. He had always viewed me as the soft voice in the background, the woman who remembered birthdays, dental appointments, and Thanksgiving pies. He did not know that I also remembered dates, signatures, and promises that later turned into lies. On the night of my birthday, his attorney Mark Ellison sat in our dining room. Perhaps Daniel believed the presence of a lawyer would intimidate me. He opened a bottle of wine and explained that the agreement was very generous. Daniel would pay 6 months of rent for an apartment, while the house, the Lexus, and Reed Carter Design Group would remain entirely his. I read the first page, then the second, and signed everywhere a yellow tab had been placed. Daniel sat a little straighter with each signature, confidence spreading across his face, the kind that comes just before a person believes he has won. Mark continued turning pages. When he reached the final one, he stopped, removed his glasses, and looked at Daniel. "Where is Exhibit C?" Daniel did not understand. Mark tried again. "The schedule listing your separate property. The house is owned by the trust. The vehicle is leased by the corporation, and according to the state filings, the controlling shares of the company belong to the Eleanor Reed Family Trust. Daniel, exactly which assets have you given me to divide?" For the first time that evening the room became completely silent. I could hear the refrigerator motor, wax dripping from the candles, and the sweep of headlights from a passing car moving across the wall. Daniel looked at me as though he had suddenly remembered that I was sitting at the same table. "I signed exactly what you asked me to sign," I said. "I am making no claim against your separate property." Mark read the agreement again. Under those papers, Daniel was receiving everything that legally belonged to him, which turned out to be very little beyond a few personal accounts, some furniture, his golf clubs, and a modest retirement balance. He was not removed from the business that night, but the board could dismiss him as CEO at any time. The trust controlled the board and I controlled the trust. Daniel tried to raise his voice, but Mark advised him to remain quiet. I placed a slice of cake on a plate but did not eat it. Birthday gifts do not always come in wrapped boxes. Sometimes they arrive as a simple truth that takes 20 years to accept. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. Daniel moved into a condo, resigned from the company, and eventually began living with the same woman whose earring I had found in the back seat. Our children were adults and they made their own decisions. I never tried to turn them against him. The truth does not need an attorney, only time. I still live in the same house today, but every room feels different because no one is pretending anymore. Some Sundays I go to Costco and some Sundays I do not. The Thanksgiving table is smaller now, but the conversation is honest. I read my retirement statements, drink coffee from the same mug each morning, and sometimes rest my hand on the dining room table and remember the night Daniel believed he was taking everything. I took nothing from him. I simply allowed him to keep what was truly his, and finally claimed the life that had always belonged to me. If this story kept you watching until the very end, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories. Your support truly means a lot and helps us keep creating. Thank you sincerely for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.